people have been in their phones, they've been on their laptop, they've been doing these things. Humans in general are built for connection and built for collaboration with each other, right? You're built for community. You're built to be in some kind of involvement with other people. And the further you get away from that, the worse off you feel as an individual, but then the worse off that your community potentially is because you're not bringing the things that could actually impact your community.
Yeah,
Well,
that's why we started out this session with you by asking you to tell us something about you not on your resume, because
yeah,
it's about building connection before content. We
yeah,
want every time that we present this information, we want to drive that home, because the primary element of cohesion, you can't get anywhere else without the sense of belonging and inclusion. And to do that, you need people to be freer to speak and to provide information that they're comfortable with. So to ask you something personal about you, is instead of me saying, tell me something personal, we just simply phrase it by, tell me something that's not on your resume.
yeah,
And then generally we get to the personal side and we can have so much more meaningful conversation, like we did with you about the movies that
yeah,
you liked. We could have even gone further if we wanted to create the entire podcast around movies. We may never have gotten to any of this other information
right.
simply because so it sets the foundation. We know this works because inside organizations, when individuals are feeling that their psychological or their physical needs are not met, then they don't go to belonging, they don't go to self-esteem, they don't go to self-actualizing. If
Yeah,
you want people to be engaged, they have to be at self-actualizing. They're not going to be engaged at fear of my job. They're not going to be, oh, I'm not sure of my surroundings.
yeah,
People actualize and begin to think and evolve and contribute when they're in that space where they feel that they have been included, that
yeah,
they know that the value that they bring to the table is meaningful,
yeah,
and they can commit to something where they know they are needed and trusted. And that's what we do, whether we use technology or whether we use in-person techniques. It's a blend of that to make sure that those organizations clearly come away with those strategic elements. And the really cool thing about it is there's no one way or only way to do it.
yeah.
You understand the concept and then you put it in place. So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you this question to drive
Mhm.
this home.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you like chocolate cake?
I do. Yes, actually.
Okay, good. Have you had chocolate cake from different bakers?
Yes.
Okay, I will not ask you how many pieces you've had at any one sitting, but I'm assuming then you've been able to have these different chocolate cakes and you can tell that it's a chocolate cake even though it came from different bakers.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So there are three primary ingredients that all chocolate cake needs in addition to the cocoa. They need eggs, milk, and flour.
Yeah.
And you can actually create a lot of variety. In some cases, you can even leave flour out now. You can have a flourless chocolate cake. So you have all these opportunities for variety. That's what belonging, value, and commitment is. It's
Yeah.
the eggs, the milk, and the flour. You can choose the variety of eggs, the variety of milk, the variety of flour that meets you and
Yeah.
what you want as the chef. So we like to say, hey, go create your cohesion culture, CC, and create your chocolate cake, CC. And all
Mhm.
of a sudden, every time you eat chocolate cake, you're going to think cohesion culture.
Yeah. No, you're totally thinking about it. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And I agree with you on that standpoint. I mean, I think when you get to the place where you understand those principles and you start to reiterate them the way that you guys are talking about and the way that you guys normally do, I think it definitely makes a difference in how you think about those things. And then also with technology, like having these solutions that you could do certain things with that, at the end of the day, oh, this is going to drive more collaboration. But it's really not. Like, unless you have, those principles in place, doesn't matter what technology you put on the backside of it, people aren't going to engage and they aren't going to collaborate because that's a behavioral thing and it's a perception of the person, to your point, feeling like they belong, feeling like they're valued and having a commitment to complete the task at hand or the project that they're working on. And so having those conversations with people, it's like you could spend $1 million and completely redo all of your stuff, but it's not going to make a difference if you don't address the root cause or the root problems of, making somebody feel like, yes, my opinion is valued. And if I want to solve this problem or work on this project, I'm going to be a part of this team and I'm going to contribute and I'm going to do the things that I need to do and giving them the space to do that.
People
Um,
put their headphones on, right? I mean, they put their earpods in and all that, and they couldn't hear each other. And if they put a rule that said you couldn't hear it, then they couldn't
exactly.
focus because of the other noise and all those things. And so A quick story on the idea of how technology piece. Most people do hybrid meetings wrong.
Yeah.
They have the technology of the owls or the light. You're at a table with the 10 people in there. You've got one camera going down. You got these weird angles. You're always wondering if they can hear you. If you're remote, you can't tell who's speaking, right? So our take on this is even different. We had an international client that we did a cohesion culture event, 28 countries. 10 people were in person, 18 people remote in 18 different countries.
Yeah.
How we did this is different from most people. All 10 people that were there in person were all on Zoom. They all were on their own laptop individually. Camera on, sound off, except for one. So the people that were fully remote got to see faces with names. They could see people talking. Maybe they weren't highlighted, so they had to do a gallery view because the speaker didn't line up because only one the mic was on, right?
Yeah.
But the sound was great for everybody. They got to know who was talking. And then when we did breakout sessions, of course, we honored the commitment and the effort that the in-person folks made. They were a breakout session together, and then we broke up the other ones. Think a little bit of thought into that type of meeting goes a long way because of the experience. You don't want remote to be second-class citizens, right?
Yeah.
There's always been the us versus them in the sales and ops world, right? Well, now the biggest thing is in-person versus remotes. They all have their superior complex, depending on which one they are, for several reasons, and that becomes something like I show up and I have to do this thing, or my work can't be remote, and you feel you're better than me, and we hear it, right? So learning how to bring them together so everybody has the same experience through that virtual session is a big deal.
And we have a couple of theories that we really apply to this and principles that go with it. And one of them is that culture is available to everyone, not just those under the same roof.
Yeah.
And we also believe that culture is built in how you treat people, not the treats you give them. So if we can fundamentally align that together, then we can do it. Like, we're not a proponent of whether people have remote work or not. It doesn't matter to us. But if you're going to do remote work, let's do it.